Sure, to the point where when we see a problem that I haven't seen before, I get excited. I'm like, all right, now we get to dissect this. Like, how are we going to fix this? How can we do it, the most humane way? How can we get the dog to want what we want?
We've picked up a couple of dogs from reputable agencies in Southern California that say, this dog won't do this dog won't do that, and then we end up picking up that dog. We end up able to get it to do what we needed to do for our application, and that dog ended up being a fantastic dog. So
yeah, and that whole, like you were talking about, like the whole uniform thing, the kit thing, all that. Like I'm looking at Shane's right now, and he's got the 550 controller right where he can touch it. I guarantee he knows what number is what, or what button is what the dial is doing, which one's tone, which one's low, which one's high, without looking at it, right? I assume go right to.
Welcome to Police K9 Radio. With me, Rich Hartman, Sergeant Matt Allert, Deputy Shane Day. I'm Greg Tawney. Rich, what's going on?
We got guests with us today.
We do.
It's kind of a cool story. Matt and I, Sergeant Allert, went to basic handlers course together about 20 years ago, 15 to 20 years ago, somewhere around there. Hated each other then, still hate each other now, but we managed to jump in the same room together. No. We had a great time working together, and we were talking about this before we started recording. We went to a well-known school. Everything was going the normal way that it goes there, but we started doing stuff on the weekends. Hey, let's add a toy into this. Let's add some food into this. Let's add some more control into this. We just started doing things that were fun, and we were getting a lot of positive response from the dogs. Dogs were looking great. We'd show up back the next week. Our dogs were starting to do really well. Other guys in the class were like, hey, what are you guys doing? It just kind of created a little bit of fun and culture in that group. A lot of us still are in contact with each other. Matt and I still talk to each other all the time. Kind of what led him up here to work with you guys. And is really what we found out is there's more ways, not necessarily a better way. It ended up being a better way, but there's more ways to train a dog than what one trainer will show you. And I know you always talk about this. If you have a trainer that says, don't look anywhere else, don't go outside of this group, don't go to some other training group and see what's going on over there, I don't want you to see anything other than my stuff, that's a red flag, right?
Sure.
You're always like, yeah, man, go to that class, go to that seminar, go work with that group. Matt's in charge of his group down there in Riverside, and I get the same feeling from Matt from talking to him that, like, yeah, go everywhere that you can and see what's out there and bring it back, and let's see what we can use, and let's see what sucks. Some of it is going to suck, and some of it's going to be amazing.
Yeah. So Matt and Shane want to come up and say, let's see what you guys are doing. And then we flip the table and go, well, you tell us what you're doing, right? Yep. And it's been great. Like we've gained some things that we're definitely going to start applying to our basic handler class and our training. And that's the key. And for you guys out there, like it shouldn't be so tribal when we're dealing with our training group. And it can be, right? It's them versus us or whatever. Man, open those doors and we can all benefit. And that's what we've been doing. It's been great.
Matt, you want to talk about that a little bit? Kind of how you started. And we know we started together, but kind of how you started in the K9 world, what success you were having, what difficulties you were having, and then where that went and what you were able to change. And now that you're in charge of your own unit, kind of the control that you have over that unit and what you're doing with the unit to make them more successful as a group.
yeah, absolutely. Good to be with you guys. Thanks for having us up. We appreciate it. Getting a lot out of Gregg's class and his basic class. I started in 2010 as a dog handler for Riverside Sheriff. At that time, the team was kind of not centrally located. The deputies were assigned to each of the stations, and you were kind of at the whim of the captain of each station. At that time, we had about 12 dogs, roughly. We worked up to 16. And eventually, starting with you, I went to the academy with you down south, and I didn't really have any idea what I was doing. I had caught dogs for, some of the senior handlers had gone to training, et cetera. And from that very first time, that was your second dog, and you already had kind of your foot in the door and were definitely successful with your first dog. So I kind of followed you around and kind of grabbed your coattails and were watching what you were doing on the weekends or in the parking lot on the side with, toys and food. And I was kind of discouraged at that point. I was discouraged within my unit. We would have got made fun of if I openly said I use food or toys, or if I used, rewards-based system to try to get your dog to do what he wanted to do. But I was becoming very successful. That dog was he was a 437 KVP dog. That dog made me look awesome, right? I mean, that dog absolutely, as a new handler, it was awesome because it made me look great, but I wasn't learning how to be a great handler, right? I didn't deal with a lot of problems. I didn't have to do any problem solving. The dog would kind of do all the work and cover up my mistakes along the way. and especially with your help, it was worthwhile. Fast forward about a year and a half, that dog ended up getting some kind of cancer. We still don't know what it was. It was kidney failure, renal failure. The dog died. And now at this point, I think that I'm a great handler. I had this awesome dog, I had, awesome deployments, work around the SWAT team, no problems. And about a year and a half in, that happened. End up getting a new dog, and I think I'm going to pick this Ferrari of a dog. Like, hey, give me this dog that is just, I need a hard dog. I need this really hard dog, right? And that didn't go so well, man. It was 2.5, 3 years of just getting bit all the time, constantly. Just our relationship wasn't good. I had kind of reverted back to heavy-handedness with the dog, making the dog do what I need him to do, not following the operant conditioning scale, not giving positive rewards or positive reinforcement, and eventually I had to have a come to Jesus moment with that dog and tell my admin, like, hey, I understand I've had this dog for 2.5 years. I'm not as good a handler as I thought I was. I can't handle this dog. I need to turn him in. It's just not, it's the conflict between me and the dog is just too much. And thank God they were good about it. Dave Reaver was great about it. Gave me a new dog, and the third dog, I was able to really be successful with him, and I ran him all the way till the
when
time
you
I promoted.
turned in that second dog, knowing that you had that conflict and you'd kind of veered away from the reward system. Did you change it up on third dog, knowing like, hey, like I had things were going great on dog 1, I changed me and our relationship changed on dog 2. Did you go in the dog 3 where like, I'm going to go back to what was working on the first dog?
Correct.
And like what were some of the things that you were like, hey, I'm going to avoid this and I'm going to go down this path? What kind of things can you look back at now that you're like, hey, this made things better? And are you using some of those things still today with your group?
Absolutely. Trying to get away from conflict with the dog. I mean, I'm not... Compulsion is a tool. It does need to be used here and there, but that was kind of my go-to at that point, especially with that heavy-handed dog or that really hard dog. I felt like I needed to be hard on him back, which created this we were butting heads all the time, constantly. He wanted to do what he wanted to do. I wanted him to do something different, and now we're in conflict all the time. And that was a very humbling moment to realize, like, and it kind of ended on, we were out with the U.S. Marshals looking for, I think, a murder suspect, something like that, and I ended up getting bit. And it was just like, man, I can't, I'm just a hindrance to this team now. I'm a hindrance to myself. I'm a hindrance to the department. My ego isn't as good as I thought. I'm not as good as I thought I was. Yeah. I can't do this anymore. I got to turn this dog in, and at risk of being removed from the unit or whatever. And thank God everybody was cool and they understood. And we moved on to Grady, and Grady ended up being an awesome dog. He had his problems. He was a little barky sometimes, but we worked through that through positive reinforcement and definitely just a bond, right? Food rewards and things that. Every dog's different, and some trainers will tell you, never do this, never do that. And it's like, well, I think every dog's different, and I think some things work for some dogs, and they will never work for others. A good example would be like allowing the dog to bite you as the handler with a bite sleeve, right? Like some people are just completely against that. Well, I had really good success with my last dog with that. It was just like rewarding him with a bite sleeve as a toy, basically.
Yeah, it was like the podcast we did on the dog living in the house. There's thousands of handlers that are like, hey, I let my dog live in the house. It lays on the floor. The kids are around it. It's great. Why can't we all do that? And then this handler over here is like, man, like my dogs barely make it in patrol work. It hasn't decided to full on be a beast on the street yet. So the last thing I want to do is introduce it to the beanbag, right? Like, this feels kind of good laying on the couch. Maybe I don't want to do hard stuff anymore. Maybe I just want to relax. And the dog's never seen any real work on the street. And it's like, hey, let's just go hang out and dispatch, right? So same thing, right? Two different sides of the coin. Some people have great success with the dog in the house, integrate it with the family, it works out perfect. Another dog goes into that same situation, bites the kid, doesn't want to get off the couch, gets in a fight with the wife when the handler leaves the house. That dog doesn't belong in the house. We treat those situations different. I've got a few more questions for you, but I want to introduce Shane so he doesn't have to sit back there quietly the whole time. Shane, how did you get into this whole K9 thing, and how long have you been doing it?
I got into this because basically when I became a deputy sheriff, Sergeant Allert and my other Sergeant Morton were basically my idols, and I saw what they were doing, and they were like, hey, you need to do this. I was like, yes, sir. So I just signed the dotted line.
Great. Sergeant Morton is my partner now. South. He's a training sergeant in our bureau.
So I joined the unit in 2018, so just about 7 years. I'm on my second dog, and it's the best job, and please.
I have, so anybody who's watching this on YouTube can see that Deputy Day looks like a knuckle dragon cop, right? But you're a really intelligent guy and you're a dog nerd just like the rest of us. And I think that's the one thing that kind of brings us all together is most of us tend to drag our knuckles, but we're also dog nerds. I really like understanding the science behind it. I like watching the dogs transform to what they were, to what we want them to be. Have you noticed, like in your lifetime now with this canine thing, that you're becoming more of a consumer of the science side of it? Like, why do things work? You know, and you're not just dragging a dog around on a leash. Like, do you enjoy the learning process?
Yeah, I would say 100%, especially since you guys mentioned before, we've really opened our spectrum with our training. So we're getting insight from Gregg, yourself, Zach from Echelon K9, Jimmy from Precision. I mean, the list goes on and on. So, and at the end of the day, everybody has a different technique, but we're all hitting these core concepts, like you guys have mentioned before, the classical conditioning, the operant conditioning, toys, food, so on and so forth, timing, all that stuff. And pretty recent here, I became a trainer with our unit, so I'm able to really go hands-on with my peers and our other handlers and get into the nitty-gritty and try to figure out these problems and basically problem-fix dogs.
Once again, this episode is brought to you by INUKSHUK Professional Dog Food. There's only one brand of dog food that we use and recommend. That is INUKSHUK Professional Dog Food. INUKSHUK was created for working dogs and continues to be the top choice for all working dogs, from hunting dogs to sled dogs, and of course, police canines. Whether it be detection or patrol canines, visit INUKSHUKPro.com, or you can find all of the formulas on Chewy.com. Yeah, no, it's we were talking about it today. I was working with a unit up north, and we were talking about like trainers that set up scenarios like, hey, you go hide in the back. We're going to search for the guy. When we find the guy, we're going to take the dog off the bite, put him in the car. Mm-hmm. That's a trainer that sets up scenarios. A trainer that can diagnose problems with a dog. We're like, hey, that dog's barking a lot. That dog's pulling a lot. That dog's having a hard time making an alert, like all these things. Like
he's coming up the line.
Yeah, he's coming up the leash. This one is showing some fear inside the building. Like being able to diagnose all those problems and fix it is the exciting part about it, being a trainer. And I think it's the thing that gets us all kind of excited about the dog process. I know you and I probably 5 conversations a week on like, hey, saw this dog do that. Hey, we worked with this handler. This is what's going on. And like, what do you think we should do? How can we fix that? What have you seen this before? And even on the pet side, we'll see so many like parallels between police dogs and pet dogs because they're all just dogs and it's all just behavior stuff. Obviously, you nerd out on behavior. We're really focused on like tone. You guys just did a laser class. You guys are, everything's changing so quickly that if we don't jump on board, then we're going to get left behind.
Sure, to the point where when we see a problem that I haven't seen before, I get excited. I'm like, all right, now we get to dissect this. Like, how are we going to fix this? How can we do it, the most humane way? How can we get the dog to want what we want? And that's like my heroin, right? And then when you fix it or you get into the dog's mind and you're able to solve that problem without having to use a lot of force, like it's like a victory, right?
No, I think it's. We were talking about it. You have 2 young Czech dogs, or at least Eastern European dogs in your group.
Yeah, these guys saw them in the basic.
Yeah, and as recently as a year ago, we were using no tone, and there's still a lot of people in the industry that are like, I don't need that tone stuff. That's silly. But 2 dogs showed up with a fair amount of conflict, ready to challenge the handlers.
Well, they had no sit, they had no down 5 weeks ago, and within 5 weeks, I mean, obviously we're not where we want to be ultimately, but in 5 weeks, these guys can get the dog out. They can do a legitimate call off. They can do a verbal out, a recall. They have some control during the search. They have some forward downs. Like again, it's not polished. But from taking a dog from scratch that's had 14 months of sitting in a kennel doing backflips, has never had to problem solve, and in 5 weeks getting that kind of success. And Rich, like you're mentioning, a lot of that's attributed to the tone. I'm a firm believer in it, and I know there's both sides of the coin on this. But I can tell you from real world experience, especially with this group here, we had 2 very green dogs. And they're very good dogs. Like if you want to pick a fight, they will fight. And so we were able to reduce that conflict and get pretty good verbal outs with 0 conflict with the handler. And they're doing really well.
I think it takes it back, and I'm going to hit you up on this one, Matt. We were down in Southern California for Canines United. I got the opportunity to go down and help out some of those guys with the dogs down there. And I just worked with another group north of where we're at now. Both groups, several people came out, several handlers came out. They were doing obedience with the dog. Forward, they start moving forward. As soon as they heel, they're popping the leash. Heel, pop right then. Everybody stop and sit. Sit, they're popping the leash. Down, they're popping the leash. I asked a simple question. I'm like, hey guys, can you explain to me why when you're asking your dog to sit, why are you popping the leash at the same time you're saying sit? Blank stares. Everybody looked at each other. No good answer other than, I don't know. That's what I was told to do. I said, let's try this just for one run. We're going to walk forward. We're going to slow down. You're going to stop and tell your dog to sit. Don't touch the leash. 100% success on the dog sitting without being popped. So every time we ask the dog to heel, every time we ask the dog to sit, every time we ask the dog to down, we're automatically popping the leash, building conflict where there was zero need for conflict. I know the answer to this because you and I were in the same class. When you were taught to heel your dog, sit your dog, down your dog, turn right, turn left, did it always come with a pop of the leash?
Yeah, it did. It always came with a correction or a lot of positive punishment going on there, and I think it's just a way that has worked in the past, so people stick with it, and then there's no room for progression in the training techniques and what you were talking about earlier as far as like diagnosing dogs versus, I think you were talking about basically, in my opinion, the difference between a dog handler and a dog trainer, right? A dog handler can, just like me with my first dog, this dog's awesome. I can diagnose my dog, I can deal with this dog, but you really start humbling yourself when you start working with other dogs and seeing how hard it is to diagnose other people's dogs and to fix other people's problems, especially with a dog you don't see all the time. Right?
Do you know why? Can you kind of look back and I know you know the answer because you started off in this world, but can you look back and understand why that technique was used in training, why it was automatically every position that we put the dog in was joined by a pup? And then what you're doing, because I know you've gone away from that, and was it hard initially to get other handlers to believe that you didn't have to hammer a dog on every movement?
I think originally, probably with police work, if I just had to guess, it was cops were used to telling people what to do and making them do it. So that kind of transitioned to the dog world, and you're going to tell the dog what to do, and he's going to do it right now. Absolutely the fastest way through compulsion. And you do get results like that.
And I think dogs were stronger.
Sure, they were stronger. And if you go way back, it's Keeler, I think 1960s, and he's kind of the father of a lot of this training, and that is in his book. Right turn, pop, left turn, pop, sit, pop, down, pop. The dog doesn't even know what sit, down, heel means, but you're just overlaying compulsion as you go. And then obviously we find out along the way with some of these dogs, and you guys have probably been there, where this dog's never been told what to do, and now we're coming out and we're like, sit, bang, heel, bang. And he's like, we're going to have a conversation about this.
You remember why you selected me? Because I was pretty strong in the showing, and you keep banging on my leash. We're going to have a chat.
Yeah.
So I think that's obviously there's a better way to communicate with a dog. When you guys are starting young dogs there, and I know you guys bring in dogs from everywhere, and this is, I guess, another learning tool, because you guys have said, hey, we're not going to one source for every dog from here on out. We're going to go across the country, across the state. We're going to find the best dogs that work best for our unit and not just prescribe to any one specific vendor. I'm a vendor, so I would love if like you only bought our dogs, but obviously that's silly because you guys have the ability to be like, nice dog, Rich, but there's a better one over here. And I think that's a good opportunity for any agency to not lock yourselves into one specific vendor. As you're going across and you're looking for different dogs, what are the things that now you're looking, what's important to you now when you're selecting a dog?
Well, we look for friendliness right off the bat, right? Is the dog going to be able to work with the handler? Because we have an administration, a sheriff that we're lucky enough to be completely supportive, right? We're fully funded. We pretty much get what we need across the board as far as staffing, training, money, the ability to go to different training around the world, around the country, outside. We went to France, trained with the BRI and their SWAT team, watched some dog training with them. Just these awesome experiences to be able to pull what we like from all over the place. But our teams are very integrated with the SWAT team, or our emergency services team, which is our SWAT team. And they work hand in hand with them daily. Shane's an EST handler. He works with the SWAT team all the time, do a lot of training. They got to be social. They got to be able to work in and around a team. So first off is the dog. I don't need a land shark. We don't need that. I need a dog that is going to perform the task that I need and do it happily. I
was telling you about this because you went down to do some selection. All 3 of the dogs that I handled were Adler horse dogs. Really proud of those dogs. Great dogs. We did all the normal testing, the bite work, the obedience, agility, environmental, and then before I ever picked a dog, I took a 20-foot long line. I went up the hill where the horses used to be. It's where that radio tower is up there, and I sat with the dog. And if the dog spent its whole time at the end of the 20-foot leash looking down at the bite work that was happening down below, I'm like, cool dog, not interested in me. If the dog came in and checked in with me, wagged its tail, tried to nuzzle up, tried to lay in my lap, wanted some affection, and it was doing everything that I wanted it to do in the selection process, easy money for me. That dog already likes me. I don't have to convince it that I'm cool. It already thinks I'm cool, which is a hard pill to swallow, right? So I get this dog to actually want to spend time with me before we ever even walk out the door. Man, my next 6 weeks are so much easier, so much easier.
And I think just to add on to that, Rich, I agree with everything Sarge said here, but just to add to that, just like a handler or a vendor or a trainer, I want to know what's the dog weaknesses, right? Like, what are his weaknesses? Oh, he doesn't like the muzzle, or he comes up the line, he's going to smoke the handler, or whatever it is. Is the juice worth the squeeze at the end of the day? Yeah. Right? So just like when I'm training my peers or we're working together, this dog doesn't like the muzzle, like like Gregg was saying, we're going to set up scenarios for the muzzle, low light muzzle or high fines or whatever can imagine, right? But just when we go to pick these dogs, and it's hard because they don't want to tell you. They want to show, oh, this dog could bite or he could do this, that, and the other. They want to show off
the good
pros,
stuff,
right? Yeah, the goods. But what is he not? What are his negatives? And then you really start digging into it like, okay, let's see how bad it is or what is it? And then start going down that avenue.
No, and for me, and I know, I'm a small vendor intentionally, but that's the first thing I say is like, hey, this dog does these things great. This is where it's falling short. This is what I think you can do, but come look at the dog and decide for yourself because some shortcomings in my eyes are what some agencies are looking for. I'm like, hey, this dog is a little too friendly. Perfect. We're looking for that dog. We're not going to get a lot of use out of this dog on street work, but it's going to do 1,000 demos a year. We really want a dog that's close to a pet. I don't think that dog should be in police work, but if your agency does, we might have that dog for you. We're learning our lesson on that one.
Yeah, I absolutely will agree with you on that. We'll judge a dog based on what we see, and we've picked up a couple of dogs from reputable agencies in Southern California that say this dog won't do this dog won't do that, and then we end up picking up that dog. We end up able to get it to do what we needed to do for our application, and that dog ended up being a fantastic dog. So,
hey, we'd like to welcome our new sponsor and old friend, Blackjack's Leather. Blackjack's is the true definition of a mom and pop shop. They're out in Illinois. Richard, the owner, is somebody that we work extensively with. They make leather leashes, leather collars, biothane. We get a ton of biothane from them. Biothane 3-foot, 6-foot, 20-foot, 30-foot leashes, all kinds of colors. I know everybody that's listening to the podcast is into the tactical with the greens and the coyotes and the blacks. But if you have a pet dog at home and you want your dog to be a little flashy, we love their long line biothane leashes. There's blues, there's pinks, there's oranges, yellows, all kinds of colors. Add a little flash to your program. And they really care about canine handlers. They're big on making sure that the equipment that they sell is safe for the dog and safe for the handler and exactly what you're asking for. Blackjack's Leather, thanks for joining us. We appreciate you.
Yeah, real quick for our listeners, because we didn't touch upon this. These guys are from an agency in California that's, I know land-wise it's huge, but population-wise it's, what is it?
It's pretty large.
Yeah.
Second largest landmass county in the United States. It's spread over a bunch of square miles.
Yeah.
And a bunch of different contract cities within it. And you have environments from the snow in the mountains of Idlewild and pine trees all the way down to Palm Springs and sand dunes.
Yeah.
All the way into Temecula where you get closer kind of to the ocean and get that marine layer and that kind of area. So we have a bunch of different environments, a bunch of different populations, a bunch of different crime rates all over the county. So we're trying to basically these dogs need to be able to do a lot of different things in a lot of different areas.
Yeah, and you guys get a fair amount of dog work. I mean, and that's how many dogs do you guys have right now?
Right now, we're slotted for 16, but we have 13 right now, and 2 of them are on training. So we have 11 deployable, and then 2 are on training. So we'll have 13.
And and speaking with you guys, the thing I was impressed with, and Shane, you can probably talk about it a little bit about, you guys are deploying your dogs with night vision, right? And you're out there searching with a number of cover officers that are potentially spread out, right? Some of your operations are pretty high end. I mean, you guys are playing with the lasers now. You deploy as a team. As far as when your dogs go out, you have a team that goes out generally as cover officers, right, for the most part. So, I mean, you guys get a lot of work. And so I always like to look at the agencies that are getting a lot of work because along the way, there's also lessons learned, right? And you're actually putting all these principles into play. So, Shane, could you talk a little bit about Rudy, your first dog, and some of the deployments you guys had together?
Of course. So Rudy was a lateral from Clovis PD, like Sarge was mentioning. He was one that they were having issues with, but we took him in and thought he was gold.
What kind of issues?
I'll let Shane talk about it.
He tried to taste a few backup officers.
Okay. All right.
For a lack of better terms. So that happened once or twice, and then the old handler ended up getting injured, so they had to essentially give up the dog. So the day we went to test, it's a funny story. I'll just go over it real quick. So we test Rudy, and I was like, oh, he's good. And then Sergeant Morton, who's not here, he's like, put him in your car. And I was like, okay. And I was like, I want to try one more. And then the kennel comes out with another dog. He's like, he's not very friendly. I was like, I'm good. I'm taking Rudy. But it's just like, it's funny because you don't know anything about anything, right? And you're like, I want to try another one. Like, dude, take this dog now.
Yeah.
So it wasn't the Gregg Tawney put him in your car, hide him just in case. Like,
you could always have a couple.
Nobody else.
Well, I think that's what
selects
Morton was trying to get at. Like, throw him in the car so nobody else touches his dog.
Don't put him back in that kennel.
Like,
He
you
won't
can
be
go
there.
do whatever you want to do. Go play tug, but we're taking this dog at the end of the day. So, yeah, Rudy was multiple SWAT deployments, multiple deployments with patrol. At the end of the day, he was taken to the line of duty of April 2023 on a SWAT operation. And during that event, he saved about solid six of our lives, for sure. The guy was lying in wait with a pistol. Yeah, so that was tough.
but obviously did his job.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, so at the end of the day, where we were searching the area, the guy was behind us in a large tree with basically a peekaboo hole, where Rudy ended up locating him, and that's where it took place.
Yeah. God damn, it's something that, like, as handlers, you always know could happen, but man, that's the ultimate sacrifice, right? That when a dog saves a human's life, and oftentimes they save fucking suspects' lives as well, but when they save our own, man, that's the ultimate honor.
Yeah, definitely, no doubt, obviously. But it's one of those things where it's like you always think about it, right? Like, oh, what if this were to happen? But when it happens, it's like, whoa, we're live, and what's going on? It's one of those things. Obviously, it was very challenging and difficult. At the end of the day, he did his job. So
I imagine that, and I know you've selected a new dog since, and I imagine when you have the dog and it's where you want it to be, and then obviously makes that ultimate sacrifice doing the job correctly, like when it's time for selection process on the next dog, like the bar's pretty high, right? You were pretty picky on your next.
I won several. Our department's big on trials, so we got first place in Vegas. Lots of awards with him. He was push button, recalls, verbals, whatever you need, he's got it in the bag. And then for him to go out like that, I was like, people were asking me, what are you going to do after this? It's kind of like, I need a minute here.
Yeah.
Catch your breath, see what your next step in this career is, where you want to take this path. And I was like, this is what I'm made for. I want another dog. So going down that process, I was extremely picky.
And just to back up a second, man, what a testament to your guys' training. When you took a dog that likes to taste, I like how you put that, taste cover officers, and then you're out there with frickin' night vision and, a whole team searching, and that dog being that clear with cover officers. Like, can you share, is there anything specific you guys did with that dog to bring him along that path and make such a 180?
I would say nothing in particular as far as the training with Rudy specifically, but we just go through a methodical process when we initially get the dog, integrating them with SWAT, utilizing the muzzle, like you say, and like I believe in, you got to walk before you crawl, before you can walk before you can run, et cetera, et cetera. So just baby steps, familiarization, manipulating the weapon with the dog around them, doing OB around the operators, then going into some housework, doing the muzzled HRT that we do with our department, and then going into low light. Eventually, like you said, going on nods, night vision, and doing large area searches, because like Sarge mentioned, a lot of the areas where we work, it's just rural, acres of shrubbage.
I mean, as you guys both know, we all know that a lot of this job is more observed phenomenon than it is actual science. And sometimes these dogs get placed in situations where you necessarily didn't want them in, but then they perform, they rise to the occasion. And his new dog, Oni, definitely rose to the occasion on a deployment a few months ago, but can't really go into the specifics. But he was in searching like a wooded area, thick brush, bamboo, rocks, nighttime, 2 a.m, looking for a suspect that had secreted himself in like a riverbed, and helicopters overhead, and basically the SWAT team's out on night vision goggles where I'm there, he's there, and the dog is moving in and around the operators and doing pretty well in the dark. I'm watching him on night vision. He's going up, smelling the operators. So I don't know how they pick it up, but I think they're picking up on the odor of the gear maybe. Mm-hmm. It's just a anecdotal thought, right? Yeah. And then the dog's moving, it's full speed toward an operator. He puts on the brakes, smells them, and then moves on. And that happened multiple times. Well, the dog ends up apprehending the suspect, and then later I'm watching the video and I'm seeing operators kneeling, laying, and the dog's moving in and about them, contacting them while they're kneeling down, laying, and continuing to move. So that was not in the plan. We didn't know that they had moved off and had done that, right? We try to do a lot of training with our team, our SWAT team, and basically explain the do's and the don'ts around the dog. But they're doing what they need to do.
We wholeheartedly agree on this, and I know you preach it, and I know it's always sometimes a hard conversation to get across to handlers is wear the equipment that you're going to wear when you're going to deploy, when you're training. Bring the dog in. I like bringing the dog into briefing. Doesn't need to mess around with everybody. Doesn't need to visit everybody. It's nice if it can. Put it in a down. Let it see uniforms. Let it see boots. And then for God's sake, when you're doing decoy work, don't do uniforms. It in your uniform. Yeah. Don't throw on a sleeve. Go do a hide with everything you're on and then wonder why your dog's starting to target cover.
Well, yeah, and a testament to these guys. I mean, they come out to watch training and they're in full kit and gear, and that goes right on down. You've had a couple handlers come through the basic handler class, boy, and they feel they're always professional. They always have all their gear on. I don't care if it's 100 degrees out there. Their gear is on. And what you're talking about, Shane, going back to your comments, there's that saying, right? New handlers always want to work on advanced things. Advanced handlers always work the basics. And what you just explained to me was breaking it down and working the fundamentals, working the basics to the point where now you're out there, you've got night vision on, the dog's looking at all these different pictures, but you guys put all that hard work and built a foundation. You just didn't throw a dog out there. So for you new handlers out there, unless you've trained it, don't go out there on the street and just throw in your dog in these situations. We get that where, hey, there's a dog on. We're going to deploy with the SWAT team. Dog's never been around the SWAT team. He's never done the fundamentals. He didn't do all the muzzle stuff early on, and it's a disaster. And then you never get invited to the game again.
Yeah, and that whole, like you were talking about, like the whole uniform thing, the kit thing, all that. Like I'm looking at Shane's right now, and he's got the 550 controller right where he can touch it. I guarantee he knows what number is what, or what button is what the dial is doing, which one's tone, which one's low, which one's high without looking at it, right? I assume go right to what you need to go to. If you're not training in the equipment that you're deploying in and you're using something as simple as an e-collar, I see a brake stick there, obviously ammo, a med kit, everything that you have, if you don't know how to access all that stuff with your eyes closed when it's going really bad, if you're not practicing that way, how the hell are you going to deploy, right? Like, hold on, let me get my e-collar out of my pocket.
If you're at training and your e-collar's in your BDU pocket, you're screwing up. Like, that should not be there. It should be on your uniform and have that muscle memory. I tell you, one of my proudest memories so far with this handler class is we took their e-collar for a scenario that we run, and it's by design. And I was watching the handlers, telling their dog to release, and their muscle memories, they're already at the button, right? And they don't even have it on them. And I'm like, yeah, like we've developed that muscle memory in this handler class. And the only way we do that is because they have all their stuff on.
Yeah, and I feel comfortable saying this at this point. If you're going to training, you're going to K9 training, and you're wearing your jeans and a t-shirt, and you've got an e-collar in your pocket, and you've got your leash wadded up and shoved somewhere, and then you're going to deploy in something completely different, like you're screwing over your relationship with the dog. You're screwing over your partners.
Cheat yourself.
You're not really doing yourself any favors by half-assing it. Like
problematic, right, Gregg?
Problematic. Apparently, I say problematic a lot.
We're on
I didn't
them all the
realize
time.
it.
We're
and
on
now,
them all day long.
now these guys got me real self-conscious, and I go, "It's a problem. Problem." I don't even say problematic anymore. They conditioned me. It's
so
like
every day we have a bet over under 5. It's a little side bet we got going
God
on.
damn.
It used to be marker. When I was first listening to the podcast
Yeah.
and Greg was on it, we turned
Markers.
it into a drinking game.
Yeah.
Every time he said marker, we'd have to take a shot. I was hammered.
I was
10
on a roll
minutes-
with Mark.
10 minutes
I was
into it.
excited about it.
When we talk about selection process, we talked about dogs, but I want to talk about humans, the people that you bring on. You mentioned it, that the current 2 sergeants that are part of the unit right now is why you signed the line. You're like, they said do it. You said, okay. That wasn't because clearly you're not just blind follower. It's because obviously you respected the guys that were in that position and they respected you and they wanted to bring somebody on who would fit well into the group. We talked about it a little bit before we started. In California, there's not a line out the door of applicants that are trying to be cops. Once they become cops, the line to do specialty assignments is even smaller, right? Well, like when we were cops, everybody wanted to be a detective, everybody wanted to be a K9 handler, everybody wanted to be SWAT. Like there was a line for all of these things. It seems like, and we deal with enough agencies that we have a pretty good understanding that there's no longer a line for anything other than give me my paycheck, which is cool. I get it. Like you have the right to get your paycheck, go home to your family. If you live comfortably, then you probably don't need to work a bunch of overtime and you don't need to sign up for a specialty assignment. That being said, you're in charge of bringing people on to a K9 unit where there may not be a ton of people that are interested. How are you mitigating that? What are you doing to make sure that quality control is still high and making sure that you're not getting people there that don't belong there?
Hey, I'd like to thank one of our sponsors, Ray Allen Manufacturing. They've been engineering tactical and working dog equipment like harnesses, collars, leashes for military police for over 75 years. They are continuously innovating. I always like to say, this is not your dad's Ray Allen. They are always looking for the bigger and the better. We get all of our handlers now in the basic handler course deal directly with Ray Allen. We get our harnesses, leashes, tugs, e-collars, gloves, Rec Specs, Hearing Dog Pro. All of our good stuff comes from Ray Allen Manufacturing. Look them up, rayallen.com. I cannot recommend them enough. We only recommend people that we deal with, and these are good people, and they're in it for the right reasons. So because of that, rayallen.com.
Well, I started as a sergeant about 2.5 years ago, and when I came to the unit, we were having problems with recruitment, right? A couple people would show up, but they may not fit the bill at our unit. We're co-located with the SWAT team under the Special Enforcement Bureau, so anybody that steps through those doors for us, even our bloodhound handlers, are going to have to pass certain criteria. They're going to have to pass the SWAT physical fitness qual. They're going to have to pass the SWAT shoot, the pistol shoot, and they're going to have to pass an oral interview. And that kind of knocks down your threshold right there just for physical fitness right off the bat, and some people have trouble shooting. So what I kind of wanted to do with the team when I got there is kind of give them an identity. We're fully supportive, great sheriff. We're going to put bad guys in jail. That's what we do. So it was my message to these guys is you need to go out and you need to show these stations and these patrol stations of how good it is to do this job. This job is awesome. You're an emergency response team for the county. You get to go to every hot call that comes out over patrol. You're involved in every pursuit you can get near for the dog. So let's start selling this thing as, what it is. This is a great job. I mean, there's a lot of benefits to working this assignment, and it's very rewarding. I mean, if you get paid to mess around with a dog all day, you're probably in the right field as far as I'm concerned.
Absolutely.
So these, I can't be prouder of my team. They went out there and absolutely sold it, right? We are attending briefing trainings, hitting every single briefing training at every single station, at every single shift. Basically, PowerPoint, practical application, training with the patrol shifts. Like we've developed a program. Basically, the patrol shifts will go to them. If they're too far, we'll put on a PowerPoint, put on a practical application of felony vehicle stops with a dog. Room clearing. We bring a package to them that brings some of SWAT in, right? We're like the intermediary between SWAT and patrol. The K9 sergeants get to go around and triage all the calls, basically countywide. If I have a barricade, the K9 team will handle it up until a certain point. Like, okay, we need SWAT. We'll bring in these guys and they'll handle these armed barricades and stuff. But my guys are doing a ton of work and it's paid off, right? So now I have like nine or so people that want to be in this pool. We created a skills day. So these guys that want to be involved in our program can come out on duty on a training day. We can practice physical fitness, give them an idea of what they're going to be looking at for the test as far as the physical fitness test, and then take them to the range. And, some of my range masters will help them pass the chute, like give them pointers on how to make this happen. And through that process, you kind of see the people that are really involved and really want to be here and move forward. It seems to be working out great. We've had some hiccups along the way, had some people that had to leave or whatever, but as a whole, that unit they're doing great right now. I couldn't be prouder of them.
So if you have somebody that's motivated and they come to you and they have some weaknesses, the weaknesses is not what's going to keep them away from the unit as long as they're willing to address those weaknesses and get better at them.
Absolutely. And we encourage them to, like, hey, come out. If you fail, no big deal, man. Here's what I would work on. We have, we give them unlimited opportunities to, hey, come out, shoot with these guys. We shoot on Wednesdays, or we shoot 2 times a week. You can meet with us here if that's your deficiency. If your physical fitness is your deficiency, then you're going to have to maybe lose some weight or start going to a gym. Or if you want to come to the gym with us on your own time, no problem. It's working out pretty good. Shane, do you have anything?
Yeah, we also have the opportunity to kind of like handpick these guys. If we see a hitter at a specific station that we want, we can take them on a ride along. And then I think more importantly, out of everything that was said, is like when they see us getting after it and they hear us on the radio, I'm in pursuit, start setting them containment, start going to these hot calls, make a request on the air, like Johnny on the spot. These guys are like, what is going on here? Like, I want to do this, So, and then once we do select these people, we have a 90-day basically like T&E. Like, we're going to see what you're made of, right? They pass that. 6-week basic, give or take, usually right around 6, depending on the dog, and then we'll go into a 3-month FTO. So, pretty high standard over here.
When you're doing that FTO, is somebody riding with that handler the whole?
We usually have a split kennel. Phase 1, the trainer will drive most of the time. Phase 2 and 3, the trainee will drive. But we got 2 dogs in the back. Obviously, if it's like a legit, we need this dog slam dunk, we're going to use the experienced dog. If it's a newer dog call, we got the newer dog on hand.
How you holding up in the passenger seat?
They don't drive very often.
And
now I got the
that was just a guess. I just had that.
Well, now
feeling.
I got the grappler, so they're not going to be able to drive, unfortunately.
It seems to the selection process of what I've seen over the past 2.5 years is that if they show an interest in the program, and then really what we try to back it up with is I want to know what are your stats, dude? Are you out there getting after it, trying to arrest people, trying to do your job? Are you trying to be a good cop, right? And the guys that are actually after, that translates right over, right? If they're interested in being a police officer and doing, getting involved, being there, not sitting underneath a tree, out there looking for people, trying to police their communities, it translates right over to being a good dog handler as far as the drive, right? You want to be here. Now you got a new program. You need to train this dog, but you're going to get to use it in the field, and it's just another tool that's going to help you out in your daily activities. It seems to work pretty well.
Go ahead.
We also like to see them come out and decoy, right?
Yeah.
I'm sure you would agree with this. I've never seen a bad decoy be a bad handler, right? If you're into it, you're studying these dogs, you're reading the dogs, you're doing what you're told, and you're doing it well, chances are you're going to know what you're doing with the
And
leash.
you're willing to be uncomfortable, right? Like you're willing to go out there, put on the suit, sweat a lot, get
Put your time in,
bit by dogs, get bruised up, and you actually. That's where we talked about this before. Like that's where I learned so much about dogs. I was a decoy for 10 years because I was too dumb to realize that I could grab the other end of the leash at some point, and I'm just like, oh, just keep decoying. It's fun over here.
Enjoy it.
Yeah, it's fun. It's a great time. But I learned so much by being on that end of the leash, like feeling the dog's like, ooh, that dog looks really serious, but this isn't serious, right? Like something's going on here. That dog looks a little nervous, but holy cow, that dog can get after it.
I truly, believe that, especially with what we're asking of my guys, this is the toughest job in law enforcement. We're asking you to handle a dog. We're asking you, which is in and of itself a full-time job. We're asking you to be physically fit. We're asking you to shoot. We're asking you to be able to pass the SWAT qual, the test. And then now I want you to go out in the field as a deputy sheriff or a corporal that works underneath me, and you need to diplomatically assist a patrol sergeant, right, on triaging these priority 1 and 2 calls that SWAT's not coming out for, and now you got to put together a band of patrol officers that you have no idea what their training is, what their level of experience is, and you're trying to figure this out and solve the problem. And they do a great job.
And you have to be an expert in search and seizure. You have to be an expert in use of force. The court now has made it very clear that you have to be an expert in case law, whether you want to be or not. Like that's the standard. So yeah, across the board. I mean,
It's asking a lot.
It is asking
It's
a lot.
asking a lot.
It
I mean,
is.
you're asking a lot of a 27, 28-year-old guy and or gal, and they seem to just the people we have rise to the occasion. They're performing really well.
Those are people that obviously were going to be good cops regardless. You were just able to pull them over to K9.
It's and that's kind of the strategy now is like, hey, how is this guy doing at the station? How I have a guy right now. He has like 3 years on for 41 search warrants on patrol. It's like, okay, well, you obviously have some drive here, buddy.
Yeah.
You're interested in a dog? Can I see how you handle this leash a little bit?
Yeah, you're like, this is an awesome human doing awesome work at the job. Let's teach them one more thing.
Right.
One thing I want to ask before we end this one is you guys have been, you already talked about it. You came up, work with Gregg. You've done some work with me. You've done work with Zach at Echelon, Jimmy,
France.
Yeah, like you've gone across everything. You started where you started. What are the biggest takeaways that you're getting across the board of things that make handlers and dogs successful? What is everybody kind of doing the same? And what are things that you're like, as a whole, we want to try and avoid this?
We're all in-house now. I say that in-house is we're running our own academy now. Sergeant Morton's our training sergeant, does an outstanding job. He runs the entire training program.
He's another dog geek.
He loves it.
Yeah,
I mean, he loves it. He and I came up
Really
together.
good dude.
I was a dog handler first. He came right after me, and he excels. I mean, when I say he's definitely a dog trainer. I mean, he's loved it since the day one. I was very into my dog. He was into helping other people out. He helped me out quite a bit, even as a junior handler. Sometimes I would watch him. He's just really into it. The program, what you're asking is we just are trying to pick, we're going down to see Zach and Echelon. Adler Horse has a firm foundation in Riverside County. I mean, we all know the ways of Mike Reaver and Dave Reaver, excellent people. You guys, Gregg, Jimmy from Precision K9, the San Jose area. I'm sending these guys outbound everywhere to try to pick and choose little things that they could bring back. And it's humbling at first for sure, and then it's making a culmination of like this perfect dog training. I mean, I don't want to say perfect, but it's working really well. I mean, and then I have a lot of resources, right? If I have a problem that I can't solve, or Morton can't solve, or this guy can't solve, or our other trainer Deacon does a really good job. Jesse Deacon is a corporal on the team. James Ray, great trainer. If we have a problem we can't solve, we got phone calls to, Zach picks up the phone, you pick up the phone, you pick up the phone. It's like, hey man, what do you think about this? And we're just dabbling into the tone avoidance that you're kind of bringing to the table, and we're not fully on it yet, but it's moving forward. So this idea of like, you're not always the best. If one trainer tells you that it's that way or no other way, like that's not true. It's not true. Now, having so many different influences can sometimes muddy the waters a little bit too. So I know Gregg and Zach are pretty much on the same page. You're pretty much on the same page, Jimmy. Nobody's doing anything that's out there crazy, right? And I think lowering the compulsion, if you want to look for a overall theme of everybody, is lowering the compulsion. Now, if you need compulsion, it's there. You can use it. And I'm not afraid to use it. However, it shouldn't be the go-to, right? Like, let's try to work within the dog's, senses and his personality and the handler's personality, and try to figure out a way to make this work with positive reinforcement. I think should be the first go-to. Now, if the dog's out of control, the dog's out of control, right? I mean,
yeah, and that's when we were talking about it this week. My thing is when we started off in kindergarten with the dogs, right? Kindergarten brain, like, let's make it fun to learn. Let's make it fun to sit, make it fun to down, make it fun to recall. Let's make it fun to let go of a toy so you can grab another toy. Let's make it fun to let go of the bad guy, and then you can play with another toy, or then you can bite the guy again. That's all fun stuff. And I'm making it enjoyable for the dog to learn that stuff. So when you get up to junior high, I can tell you what you have to do. And if you choose not to do it, then there's consequences, right? But then it's fair because I've showed you how to make it fun. I've showed you how to get into that position. I've shown you how to let go of the bite. I've shown you how to recall. I've shown you how to do all that stuff in an environment that's enjoyable for the dog. Now I feel comfortable holding you accountable. If I start my training off with down, let go, I don't have anywhere to go from them. Like if I start with compulsion, there's nothing left. If I start with fun, enjoyment, food, toy, now if I need to hold you accountable, now it's fair for me because we have a relationship that I can say, hey, knock it off. Now you're getting a correction.
I'd agree with that 100%. I think that what you're saying is completely true in the sense that if you've gone through all those steps, you've built a relationship with your dog, And if you do screw up as a handler and do too much compulsion at the end of that, the dog's going to be much more forgiving on you, right? I mean, Dave Reaver always used to talk about the block of trust you have with your dog, and each time you screw up as a handler or the timing's incorrect, you kind of shave away. Well, in the beginning, if you just start hammering them, it shaves quite a bit away. So, whereas if you have a relationship with that dog later on, he'll be forgiving on you.
Yeah. Well, I can tell you from my standpoint, you guys are doing something right. I've seen Shane and his dog. You've had handlers come up, and I've seen their dogs. And tactic-wise, you guys are dialed in. You take it serious. Obviously, your recruitment is working, and then your selection of dogs is working. So, like, my hat's off to you guys. Like, you're one of the most professional agencies, I think, in the state.
There's some folks in Southern California or even across the nation that might want to reach out to you and get some tips from you. Are you open to taking calls from other agencies who are just looking for a better way?
Absolutely. When you guys had Mike Walsh up here, and he was our lieutenant, he just retired, great guy. I mean, not a dog guy, a SWAT guy, but basically absolutely saw the value of the dog for the SWAT world. He was one of our biggest cheerleaders and absolutely evolved our unit, exponentially. He was my lieutenant as the K9 lieutenant before he retired back in December. People from all over the United States are reaching out to me regarding use of dogs for HRT, muzzled dogs for HRT. How are we doing it? They want to see some PowerPoints, some videos. Tucson PD hit me up at a couple other places, Denver.
Yep.
And there's somebody recently that I heard had a live deployment of it. They got it from the podcast, had a live deployment, and it was successful. I don't know who that is, but I just heard that the other day. I got to kind of track down that information. But
We'd love to hear that.
it's cool to see that we're having an impact, and love taking in what everybody's some knowledge from around the country would be great.
So, yeah, if you guys want to reach out to Sergeant Allert, obviously he works at Riverside County. You guys can find a way to get a hold of him there. I'm not going to give out your personal.
No, that'd be great. Yeah.
Actually, I might give out his personal. No, I'll hold off on that. But you guys, I'm sure anybody in another agency wants to get a hold of him. I know you're open to having those conversations and helping other agencies out.
Absolutely.
I've talked to several people in Southern California that work at different agencies, know what you're doing. They're really excited about how well you guys are thriving with this new pathway that you're taking. So what you're doing is being noticed, and it's obviously noticed by us, and it's pretty cool to watch. Proud to have gotten to work with you and seeing where it's progressing now. It's good stuff.
Appreciate that so much.
Awesome.
Great.
In the meantime,
Train hard.
and be safe.